Of State of the Nation. Tyler Yaremchuk, Zach Lang, Josh Park, and Nation Dan here with you, as we are every Tuesday, live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook as well. The big news of the day, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, an 8-year extension. I usually sleep until about 8 o'clock every day, and I woke up, and the first thing I saw was Rashog's tweet that the deal was going to get done, and I honestly didn't believe it. At first, I thought it was a fake tweet, a fake Twitter account, maybe something that was sent out accidentally, but it is done. The Oilers have now confirmed it. An 8-year deal. Like I said, Rashog first with huge stash.
Yeah, I'm using some technology to get some facial hair that actually looks, I don't know, not bad, not terrible. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I'm right there with you, Tyler. When I saw that number of 5.12, I was just astounded. Yeah, it's a team-friendly deal. It's a player that wants to be in Edmonton. There's nothing bad you can say about this. Calgary Flames fans are happy about this for us.
Yeah, I saw that. I was really stunned that this deal got done as early in the offseason as it did. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Believe it or not, the first thing that I saw this morning was the article from Bagged Milk about it. And I was like, wait, what is Bagged Milk doing? Like, no, this didn't happen. And then I was like, oh, shit, Rashog actually broke this. This is legit. Yeah, I think it's tremendous. I think it's a great deal, not only for the player, but for the team as well. Nugent Hopkins is clearly taking a hometown discount here to stay in Edmonton. I'm sure he could have easily gotten another $1 million, $1.5 million on the free agent market had he decided to go that way. But he clearly values being an Edmonton Oiler, and he wants to see this thing through to the end. So, yeah, it's a pretty fantastic deal, I think, from all ends. And might be Ken Holland's best piece of work that he's done thus far with the Oilers.
I agree with that, because I think getting this deal done when he did with the lower AAV, it puts him in a position to go make even more big moves right now and have a little bit more wiggle room. Josh, your take on the deal when you first saw it?
Yeah, it's ideal if you're the Edmonton Oilers. The low AAV is exactly what you wanted. Is an 8-year term ideal from a team standpoint? You're not going to say that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to be falling off a cliff on year, 6, 7, 8 necessarily, but getting him at that low AAV for the first 5 years of the deal, that's exactly what the team wanted. And that's ideal because that allows you a lot more flexibility with a lot of extra money that you can go out and spend on other players. If they would have somehow resulted in the Oilers, getting them at, let's say, 6-1 or 6-2, that's an extra $1 million that would have been dead money on that NUGE contract that you can now spend elsewhere. The difference between a 3 and a $4.5 million player that the Oilers can now add is a huge difference. So, big win for the Oilers. As a guy that's always been a huge NUGE supporter and has wanted them to re-sign him from the beginning, I'm very happy.
Yes, president of the NUGE fan club. Actually, that goes to our boy Bag Milk, who now needs to buy 3 Ryan Nugent-Hopkins jerseys, as he promised he would when they extend him. Give us your take on the Twitch chat. I got that chat line open right now. S. Simons 94. Permanent left wing, or what are y'all thinking long term for Nuggie? I'll go to you first again on this one, Dan. I think he's going to be a left winger going forward unless there's an injury. I think that's pretty clear here. Where do you think is the ideal fit for Nugent Hopkins?
Yeah, I think in the immediate future, unless we all of a sudden acquire a ton of left wing depth, he's slotted in on that left wing. But you do not want to lose the center eligibility for Nugent Hopkins. We don't want to have him completely removed from that, being able to take draws, all those kinds of things, because later on into his contract, he is going to be the ideal, second or third line center for this team, depending on how everything else shakes out.
Stealth Legends 93 loves the deal for number 93, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Zach, where do you see him fitting in? Is it a McDavid winger, Draisaitl winger, a centerman? What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I think, this gives the Oilers the ability to Hopkins or McDavid and Draisaitl, and then have Draisaitl, and then Nuge, and then somebody else up the middle. So I know it's a little different, but, you look at the way, and you look at how potent McDavid and Draisaitl are together. It's just such an unstoppable 1-2 punch. If the Oilers can go out there in free agency this year, and I haven't dove into the numbers since Nuge re-signed now, but if the Oilers are able to go out there and acquire a second line center, that's just another way that this team can add some depth to their roster, seriously, and have 2 solid scoring lines.
Yeah, the idea of going out and getting like another high-end winger, and maybe the door is still open a bit, like you said. Keep him at center, keep Nuge at center, go get him whoever is a big name, whether it's trade or free agency, to play on that left side, And maybe that's a different way to build up two scoring lines. Josh, where do you want to see Nuge play long term?
Well, I think it'll really depend on what the Oilers do in regards to adding or signing another player. Ideally, for me, I like Nuge at the wing position more. I think it suits his style of game better. And that's going to mean you're probably going to split up McDavid and Draisaitl. Sure, could the Oilers go out and, acquire another center in the next few months here? Yes, but I think we all know the price on a center is going to be a lot higher than the price on a good scoring winger. So, if you want to go out and get a solid second-line center that you think can allow you to play McDavid and Draisaitl together and then allow you to put Nuge on the left side, sure, go out and do it. But the price is going to be higher than if you wanted to just pick up a left side guy that can probably, put up just as many points. So I think that if you're the Oilers, it allows you flexibility, obviously, with Nuge playing both positions. But ideally, I like him on the left side. But I think it'll really depend on what the Oilers do here in the next few months in regards to signing or trading for another player.
Ken Holland was asked about Nuge's versatility and said, quote, "That's the beauty of Nuge," which might be a Nation Gear shirt idea here. That's the beauty of
Nuge.
The beauty of Nuge. Our boy Bag Milk is in the chat bragging about the fact he's had some stores reach out about giving him a jersey deal. So sick brag, Bag Milk.
Sick brag.
Stealth Legends 93, our concerns now are getting a starting goalie and getting some depth. So that will be topic number 3 here on the show. What needs to be next on the Ken Holland checklist? What do you want to see? What do you think needs to happen, Dan?
Well, I feel like a broken record here, but for me, we need to figure out this goaltending situation. I know that it's probably going to take until at least the Kraken expansion draft to know where the chips are going to fall on that. But I've seen it started to get floated out that Koskinen could be coming back to this team next year, and that really makes my heart sink. So for me, goaltending is still number 1.
Zach, what's the next move that you want to see made here?
I don't know. It's interesting. Obviously Adam Larson is a big piece, a big decision that has to be made on. You got the expansion draft here coming up, but and this is just going to be a little bit of a throw out there, but what about acquiring Jack Eichel? I know it's a little crazy, but there's a world and there's a way in which it can work. Jonathan Willis at The Athletic wrote a really good piece about it a few weeks ago. The Oilers have the flexibility to do a giant move like that right now if they wanted to. It would make things a little bit difficult up front, but it would be pretty crazy to see that happening. Do I think it'll happen? No, it's obviously a pipe dream. I think the biggest thing coming up for the Oilers is getting ready for the expansion draft. They've got some tough decisions to make, and it sounds like they're going to go the 7-3-1 route here. So I think that's going to be the next big thing for the Oilers to take care of here.
Josh, what do you think? Next thing you want to see Ken Holland check off the list?
Yeah, outside of re-signing Tyson Barrie, which I think is probably the next piece to fall for this team, I would say goaltending. Dan's exactly right. We're seeing what the Montreal Canadiens are doing in the playoffs right now. And yeah, they've got some good stud young forwards. Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, they've been playing great. But it's Carey Price. Carey Price is the reason that the Canadiens are what they are right now in the Stanley Cup Finals. So I think the Oilers, they got to go out. They got to get their number 1. I have no idea what's going to happen with Mikko Koskinen. Are they going to buy him out? Are they going to try to swindle a deal and get Seattle to take him? I don't know what's going to happen. But, outside of goaltending, which is an easy answer, I'm going to say I'd like to see another, second or third line player added, with that versatility that the Nuge contract is now allowing you to have, that $4 to $6 million range that can actually be a difference maker on this team night in, night out. So I would say top 6 forward and goaltending.
I still think the way they're going to get rid of Mikko Koskinen is, I think we can all agree there's likely going to be a trade made at some point this summer. The Oilers will make a transaction, and what I would do is, if I was Ken Holland, was tell the team kind of at the last moment, all right, you want this prospect instead of this prospect, we'll make that concession, but you need to take Koskinen at half retained and buy him out for us. Because what it would do then is it's 2 years at $750,000 for both the Oilers and the other team once he's bought out or retained and then bought out. I think that's the way to do it. And his contracts actually, if you look at it that way, is pretty easy to get rid of and pretty easy to stomach on the books. $750K in dead cap space to get rid of $4.5 million for next season is doable for me. So I think Koskinen will be gone. I agree that they need new goaltending. But the one thing Ken Holland sort of alluded to today at his press conference was figuring out what's the deal with Oscar Klefbom is the next big piece of business. Our Jason Gregor has reported that, maybe a less than 20% chance that he's ready to go by the start of the season. And, maybe that means he might never play again as well. But Ken Holland did say today, and I think this was via Reed Wilkins, that Holland is going to reach out to the Klefbom camp in the next sort of 10 days or so and get an update on what his future is. So that's another big one, because if Klefbom's there, man, this blue line has the potential to be like one of the better blue lines in the league. When you look at a left side that could have Nurse, Klefbom. If Jones goes in expansion, he goes, maybe it's Cuckoo down there on the third pairing, and then Bouchard, Bear, and Larson on the right side. Like, that's a really good blue line.
If not a little bit young, that would be my concern or my counterpoint there. But and we talk about spending a lot of dollars. I imagine that the bringing back Nugent Hopkins probably signals that we will see them try to spend a little bit more when it comes to a goalie. But you can't distract from the fact that we do still need, like Josh said, another top 6 guy that can actually be effective, and it's not just Dominic Cahoon that we're throwing at the wall and hoping it sticks.
I think that's a big one. I think getting another scoring left winger is huge, or just, any sort of impact forward. You probably need to add 1, maybe even 2 to this group. We've talked about it a lot here, but now that we know Nuge is coming back and we know what the price tag is, Zach, what names out there are you still looking at, Eichel aside, that you think would be good fits here for the Oilers?
A guy I keep coming back to is Thomas Tatar. From the Montreal Canadiens. He's been a healthy scratch through some of the playoffs here, but he's been one of the most productive forwards in Montreal's lineup over the last 3 years that he's been there. I think it'd be a tremendous asset to this Oilers team. It would allow the Oilers to go McDavid, Draisaitl up the middle and on the first and second lines, and then have Tatar and Nugent Hopkins being good weapons on the left side as well. So I think that's a guy that I would have as a number 1 free agent target on my books right now.
Josh, who do you like out there?
Ty, I think I've seen you tweet about this guy before as well, but I think Blake Coleman could be a good addition to this team. I don't think necessarily the price would be that much, and he has good numbers in the past. This season he put up 14 goals. He has a couple 20-goal seasons, so I think Blake Coleman would be a number or a guy that I would look at potentially. I don't know who else. Like, I'd love to see the Oilers make a huge splash and go for a guy like Eichel or go for a big name like that, but if that's going to happen, you're going to end up handcuffing yourself into a big contract as well, and you're going to get tied into a lot of years of term. It's going to be a long contract. So, if that experiment doesn't end up panning out, then you're sitting there thinking, oh boy, now we got to try to find a way to get this contract off the books, and that's going to, handcuff us even more. So, yeah, would a Jack Eichel guy be amazing for the Oilers to add? Could it work out amazing? Yes. Is the risk there? Yes. But Jack Eichel, man, yeah, that'd be cool.
Zach, you brought up Tatar. I wonder how cheap he'd come as well, because the fact he's being healthy scratched in Montreal, that would lead you to believe his stock is sort of dropping a little bit. I think that's a guy who might be in almost a Tyson Barrie spot, where if the Oilers simply go to him and say, listen, you might get a shot to play with McDavid, you're going to be locked into our top 9 because we have no one else to play there. Why don't you come here for 1 year, reset the value, then see if you can get yourself maybe, a 3-year deal elsewhere next offseason. Dan, there's a lot going on behind you with a dog and everything. But what do you think? Who's a forward that you'd like to see them go at?
Oh, well, you know what? It's going to upset people again and again, but, the fitting in of Taylor Hall in Boston seems like it's less and less likely to me. So I don't know. You look at a guy there where Edmonton signed him to a pretty player-friendly deal at $6 million per for the 6 years. And so to me, why don't you try and bridge that gap and see if Hall would come in around the same kind of numbers as a Nugent Hopkins? I don't know. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Taylor Hall has to see the value of coming to an Edmonton and being able to succeed with this roster and with this lineup versus what he was at the last time he was here. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's time to. I've kind of avoided that train up until now, but Taylor Hall is a guy that I would absolutely be looking at this moment.
I'd be interested in him as well. I think adding him to this top 6, if you're running a top 6 next year, that's like McDavid with Nuge, or McDavid with Draisaitl and Puljujarvi, and then Nuge with Hall and Yamamoto. That could be like a pretty deadly looking top 6. I also like the idea of going out and making a trade as well as getting a free agent addition. And if you're left side next season, like even if you look a little bit lower and it is, let's say one of Coleman or Tatar on the left side, you have Nugent Hopkins, then you go out and acquire like a DeBrusque. Like a depth chart that looks like that on the left side is actually pretty appealing to me. And I think it's something that's actually reasonably attainable as well when you look at the money Ken Holland can spend. The Twitch chat is bumping right now. People are wondering if Nation Sims is coming back this summer. Dan,
no plans for it right now, but you never know. My cycles are quite wild at this moment, but if people are clamoring for it, we can definitely try and figure out something there.
Finally, Stanley Cup Finals are underway. I just wanted to get everyone's thoughts on Game 1 here before we wrap up this episode of State of the Nation. Zach Lang, for me, Tampa Bay just looked like an absolute juggernaut in Game 1 against Montreal. But I think the important thing to remember if you're the Habs is have a short memory as well, because just because you lost one game doesn't mean you're all of a sudden out of this series. What was your take on Game 1?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Tampa Bay is a good team, and Montreal got a little bit of a wake-up call there, I think. In Game 1. Montreal's a good team. There's a reason that they're in the finals right now, and they've faced a lot of adversity through these playoffs, especially in that Toronto series early. And there was a lot of people out there that said that Toronto was one of the best teams in the league and a team that was going to be contending for the Cup. So, for them to have handled, not only Toronto, but Winnipeg in 4 games, as well as taking down Vegas in 6, that's pretty impressive, because I know there was also a lot of people who pegged Vegas as a team that would or could win the Cup. So, yeah, Montreal just going to have a short memory and try and come out fired up tomorrow night for Game 2.
Dan, what do you think of Game 1?
Well, you know who else has looked like a juggernaut? The Toronto Maple Leafs looked like a real juggernaut. The Winnipeg Jets shut out the Edmonton Oilers. They looked like a juggernaut. And as you mentioned, Vegas absolutely slapped the Habs around in Game 1, and they looked like a juggernaut as well. So it's still anyone's bet as to what's going on in this series. But I mean, Tampa made Carey Price look human, which is not something you can say about most teams this playoff run. So it is still just anybody's game. It's picking the lesser of two evils really at this point. It's either a Canadian team wins or a team $18 million over the cap wins.
JP, what was your take on Game 1? You think that you giving the Habs any shot here?
Yeah, I said when the Habs were taking on Vegas, I said I didn't think the Habs would win a game. I thought they were going to get swept 4-0, and that didn't turn out good for me. But now I'm going to double down on it. I don't think the Habs are going to win a game. I think the Lightning are just too good. We saw last night 5-1. Carey Price looks human, and that's a team that's just up and down the lineup is just too much to handle for this young Habs team. I think this team is going to be really good in the future. You're seeing Cole Caulfield all of a sudden drawn in the lineup, and he's being the difference maker on this team. But I just think the Lightning are too much to handle. They're too skilled. They've been here before. Braden Point is in sicko mode right now. So, yeah, I think the Lightning are going to roll the Canadians.
I'm not picking on you, Josh, but you do sound like a lot of us experts do, where we have, all through the playoffs, the Habs have been doubted at every turn. And, like you said, that's a good young team, and they are really unpredictable as to what's going on with that team night in and night out. And the way that they play every game changes, it seems.
The Lightning beat the wheels off the Islanders 8-0, and then the next game they lost, and that series had to go 7. So I think, again, I already said it, but short memory for Montreal is definitely what they're going to need. And also, it's an old cliche, maybe it's a tiring cliche, but I still believe you're never in trouble till you lose on home ice, and the Habs are putting together a proposal to potentially have 50% in the Bell Center. You got to think that would give the Habs a big, big boost coming home.
And the Habs... Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, the only thing that we have to watch for, too, is that the Lightning haven't lost 2 games in a row in the playoffs now in 2 years. That's a team that is real resilient. I think that stat sounds right. Tyler chalked by it, so that worries me. But definitely in this playoff, I don't think that they haven't lost 2 games in a row. So the Canadians have to do what no other team has been able to do, which is win 2 games in a row against these Lightning.
I was personally hoping the Habs would go up 1-0 so I could get some good value on a bet on the Lightning to win this series. But someone was asking in the chat, Brad Stepanko, if anyone has any bets down. I don't have any. Josh, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say the Habs are playing with house money right now. This is really no pressure on this team. No one expected them to get this far. They barely slept or crept their way into the playoffs. So literally it's house money for the Habs. If they win a game, if they win a couple of games, that's amazing. If they win the Cup, it's an absolute miracle. So if the Lightning, any team that has the pressure right now is the Lightning. It's all the pressure's on them. So you know, whatever happens, and we'll see.
All right.
I had money on the Islanders, and that's all gone now.
Yeah. It is former Oiler Jeff Petrie against former Oiler Patrick Maroon in the Stanley Cup final. But one person who may never be a former Oiler is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. The Oilers lock him up to an 8-year deal, and that was the big topic today. Shout out to everyone who was active in the Twitch chat. It was a good one today. Shout out to everyone who tuned in on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. You three, stay cool. Avoid this heat.
And I was just going to say, Tyler, that's a great tip. Everybody, if you see somebody out in Edmonton, especially, make sure you know the number you can call if you see somebody in distress in this heat, because as much as it's tough for us inside of our air-conditioned houses, there are people that are unfortunately not able to get out of this heat.
Exactly.
That's
311 in Edmonton. That's 311. I have one
that
AC
is great
unit
note,
in
Dan,
one room.
but I don't have AC either, so I was dying at home. There's a reason I'm not at home right now.
It's a cool 17 degrees in my room right now.
Get out of here, Josh Park. That's where we're going to wrap this thing up. This has been State of the Nation, the NUGE is Staying Forever edition. Enjoy your week.